when someone is asked for opening talk, I think many people have this feeling that not easy, especially sharing some of your story. Somewhat takes some energy, or I saw actually myself didn't really much like to give this opening talk because I feel like I have to open up something that I really want to open up. But as just Martha said in the very beginning, the silence is better than what's that? Holiness. And that's what Mr. Sungsan used to say. But then also he sometimes said, like opening your mouth is already a mistake, especially in Zen. But using that mistake is actually Zen to help. So that's one of the prophets that actually, I think he created this kind of setup, Dharma talk. Even if someone is in training or on the way to practice, and we understand it's not easy to share something that I have, if it's an even more private thing. But opening your mouth is also a mistake, we understand. But then using that mistake just to share or help is Zen. That's what he used to say. So thank you again. Also, it's true, like when we practice, sometimes we doubt if actually does this practice really work. Because there was a few years ago, there was one young Polish member who came for Kyeolche, and actually she had been a hangwon a few years before then. And then she came back just to join Kyeolche as a regular participant. And of course, I probably think, I was not here when she was hangwon, but probably she did 3 months. And then if it's you sit a long retreat for the first time, I think it's natural that you get some kind of expectation. You expect that something good would happen, or at least some kind of result from your retreat. So what she shared in her talk was very interesting. She said, just as soon as possible, forget about the retreat. The fact that actually you set the long retreat. Because what happened to her, after she spent 3 months here as a hangwon, and she went to Australia and got a job there, worked, and soon she got injured on her leg. So kind of broke one of her legs. So then she thought about, why does this happen even after 3 months long retreat? Or 3 months long this hard training, this serving things, and then this bad thing happened to her. So it was very funny that actually then she told the people, so the best thing is actually forget about what you did with your practice. That means actually, as also Martha said, sometimes on the way, you may have some this question or doubt. Is this practice really working? Like when you are in some trouble after some hard practice, or something that you don't want to happen to you, especially in this kind of humid weather, you don't feel that appreciate why do we practice. Or if it's really sunny outside and the weather is a little drier, then probably you feel like practice is good. But sometimes it's opposite. So that means actually when we expect something special from our practice, then often that goes the opposite. So that means actually our practice is about just let go. Good thing happen, let it go. Bad thing happen, let it go. That's our practice. Then some true results appear. So you know this story, I think maybe it was in some Japanese, some Zen masters. A student felt in his practice no improvement. So a kind of struggle. So he went to the teacher and asked him, so my practice has no improvement and I struggle to practice. Then the teacher said, oh, just wait, it will pass. And then after a while, this student felt his practice going really well, like some clarity and some kind of strong, this mindset. So he was so excited, and even he got some kind of experience. So he was so excited and rushed to his teacher, sir, so my practice is really improved and I got something really special. And then teacher said, wait, it will pass. So it doesn't matter what kind of, some experience or hardship that you are going through, the best way and the core of our practice is to let go. Then actually you taste something real. So anyway, from Martha's sharing, I wanted a little point out. Does anybody have any question? I will also sit like this. No question? There's one. Bodhisattva question. Please.
Yeah. Last time I asked about regarding the Amitabul.
Amitabul?
Yeah. And then you mentioned that if you have mind, then Amitabul control you. And then I just maybe you can explain that a little bit.
I think that question is usually asked by some people who practice Amitabul chanting, like a chanting Zen, which is sometimes called. So is there any like a difference between Zen practice and then Amitabha chanting practice? But also, as you asked, if that chanting practice really work or not, that was your question, right?
Actually, I asked, do you believe in Amitabha?
Do you believe in Amitabha? Don't believe, just become Amitabha. That means, no mind. When you chant Amitabha, when you recite Amitabha, you have no mind, then you are Amitabha. So, who said that? Like one, I think a Tibetan teacher said, don't become Buddhist, become Buddha. Because this practice is not about actually believing in some object or idea. Actually, you attain it. It means experience. That means you become that what you wish. It's not about following the idea, the doctrine, or the founder of the teaching. That's why I think Buddha's teaching is quite amazing. Yeah, please go ahead.
Then how about faith?
Faith?
Yeah.
So what kind of faith do you have in your practice? Exactly. So that is actually, it is said that in Zen practice, 3 elements are important, as you know, right? Great faith, great courage, great question or doubt. So this great faith, often people think about this, so believe in what? Faith. Apparently, obviously in Buddhism, we don't say that you believe in Buddha or God. So what kind of faith do you have in your practice? And just as just a person. You live in that point. There's no God, no Buddha. There's no this or that. That moment, that's very strong. You have got great faith. One of the three elements in Zen. So it's actually a good question. Now I explain, maybe you got it and you think you understood it. Probably sooner or later you get again confused. What do I believe? So that's why experience, attaining it is very important in Zen. Any other question? Yes.
Just want to ask a question about true self. So is this our true self?
Is it? Good. Congrats. And don't lose it. Yeah, not difficult to get it, but not easy to keep it, as we always say. Yeah. I saw this, two of our cats have they're ill, as you saw. The mandu, it's not anymore mandu actually. The reason why we named the cat mandu was because he looks like a mandu, it's like a Korean dumpling, because he was quite fat. So, and kind of cute looking, but I think he has some serious illness, and it's losing a lot of weight, as you can see. And the other one, like recently got some kind of, I think, infection on his ear. So it's actually really bad to see that. And I mean, looking at even the animals getting ill and older. And I don't know, maybe this just my feeling that they behave very differently. Like they kind of demand more, I think, love. When no matter whom are passing by them, they just start meowing and want to get some attention. Any creature, I think, has that. And that's not actually, I mean, it's something related to true nature, I think. Yeah, we express that this way. Maybe quite a few of you don't like it this way, even if you are doing it. But if you don't like it, actually, you can use the name true nature. Then maybe you are a little more connected. So this true nature, not just a human being, but also animals, any creatures, even some object, share the same thing. But I think some creature like a human being or animals who can feel, who can think, this love and compassion is a common word that can actually present about our true nature. So when we have this true nature, I mean, experiencing, then it's very natural that we want to be connected, I think. I think that's what they are doing. So probably I shared this in one of the I shared this in my Inca speech that there was a young man in Shilla Kingdom. That's one of the kingdom in ancient Korea in about 7-8 centuries. And he was just an ordinary lay young man. And one day he had this little board, and then he went out to riverside in the village. I was just walking around and just happened to see otter, this animal, otter that looks like a rat, big rat, but it can swim also in the river. So suddenly he feel hunger, so he chased and then killed it and had a barbecue party by himself on the riverside. And then because he had no any inspiration or about life. And then he just went back home. And a few days later, he suddenly remembered what he had done, and he just got curious if there is still some kind of remain there. And when human beings are bored, they do very weird things. So he went back to the spot that he had this barbecue party, and then something took his attention. He expected there must be the bones of the otter that after he eat them off, the flesh, meat. But there was no bone there. And even something weird was he saw this trace of this bone was dragged by something. Because it was on the sand, it was very easy to see that. So he got really curious, and he followed the trace. And then, because it's a riverside, it also just nearby there was a forest. Then this trace get led to the forest. He followed it, and it just stopped in front of some small hole where some wild animals live. And then, the trace just stopped there. Apparently, it was dragged into the hole. So he was very curious, and then suddenly he heard some baby animals sound, like kind of crying. And he just looked into the hole, and there were 5 or 6 baby otters, even without opening their eyes, because they were too young, hugged by this bunch of bone, the scar. So this is one story that I read when I was Hengja, when Hwagesa many years ago. That the reason actually was because I also my name Hetong was given, and I was just wondering if there was any a monk Hetong in the old time. So I was trying to find any a name of Hetong in history, and then I found actually his name in Shiladan kingdom. So that was actually his story, how he became a monk. So this young man was completely shocked when he saw that. All this bone, that was actually the mother otter of the babies. So, no matter that you believe or not, when I read that was really blown on my mind. And the comment of the story was even animal has it. Even animal has it. That was the bottom line. So when you see our Mandu and Zack, be mercy. Anyway, so even animal has it. Any creature has this true nature, this. And if some human being even doesn't think about it, probably has lost human spirit. So that's why we are here, just trying to find it out or trying to make it solid each moment. Any other question or comment, sharing? When Kyeolche starts, we usually say, it's like, you probably heard about this, like taking flight. So when there's like an airplane taking off, then it's a little shaky, people are a little nervous, something not settled, okay, this flight crew coming going and ask you to do this or that, fasten your seatbelt, but still there is a little some kind of commotions. And it's like in the beginning of Kyeolche, if you remember. There is something that you have to adjust. And when the flight is in the air for a while, it's quite settled, ease. People can go to the toilet, not really thinking about what's going to happen when we are flying. But then, when it's the time to land down, and there is another shake. People's mind, and also things that you have to prepare. So now Kyeolche is time to land down. About like a little less than 3 weeks left to the end of this Kyeolche. Of course, if you just entered or you came for the shorter retreat, then maybe you might feel a little differently. But if you are sitting for whole 3 months Kyeolche, the last part of the retreat is quite important, depending on how you spend the time. So, well, in my own experience, I used to actually try to boost my own practice at the end of Kyeolche, because I used to feel like about myself, it's kind of get loosened, and also more thinking arises in my mind, especially about what to do after this retreat finish. Probably all of you are very mature, so you don't think about that much. But in my case, I think quite for a while, I used to think, what's going to happen? What should I do after this retreat finish? Or, as I just said in the beginning, would it be some improvement in my practice? All kind of ideas and thinking. So I used to actually do a little more extra practice in the last part of Kyeolche. And then it's not easy physically, and if you have been sitting for more than 1 or 2 months, already physically it's quite, I think for many people it's quite burden. But then even you add some more extra practice, then physically you can get a little more tired. And then that also make your mind a little weak. So they can be quite make you shake. So after that kind of experience, I try to be a little balanced. Balance, important, middle way. Sometimes I actually people who don't have much experience this kind of long retreat, I a little push them to do harder. Because then they understand what's the best for themselves. Have you, before I have this, shared this some interesting scientific, some fact that recently, have you heard about this James Webb telescope? This, is there like how do you call it in English? It's satellite? No, it's actually a telescope, but which is much more advanced former one. like how the Hubble. If you are actually interested in the space things, you probably heard of this name, Hubble telescope. Provide like many beautiful photos of the space, like some planets. And this James Webb, this is much advanced, and then actually it can take a picture from the much further past back. There was, I think, a shoot to the space just only last year, I think, or 2 years ago. But one interesting thing is it is placed in some kind of location in the space which called Lagrange. I have shared this. That's a French word. Lagrange, correct? So because this scientist found it out. And it's a very interesting location because between two like how they say orbit planets, there's some point where the gravity doesn't work anymore, and or this how the centrifugal this force doesn't work. So if we shoot and place that at that spot, it doesn't need much fuel to stay at the location. Otherwise, you need like a incredible fuel to keep it stay at that point to make it work. But this point, no gravity works there, and how do you call it in English? This force, centrifugal, something like that. Anyway, so it doesn't. That kind of this physical principle stops. So without much fuel, that telescope can just stay there with very, very little fuel. And then when I saw that, oh, that's exactly like a middle way. It's a middle way. Nature is exactly has the nature that we should have. Our true nature should have the middle way. Keeping balance. I think the human relationship is the same. We relate to each other. You feel some very difficult with someone else, while you feel very easy with some other people. Why? You need a lot of this, got influenced by the gravity. One of the two has so strong this gravity. So you have to consume a lot of fuel to keep the relationship. But if you find the spot between you and that person, some spot that is completely balanced, right? You don't need this principle of gravity or the centrifugal force. Then without consuming your much energy, you can still keep the relationship very comfortable. It doesn't happen maybe many times, but definitely the kind of natural force and this principle is working between each relationship. And it's not just between people, actually. It's about yourself and your own practice. That's what I'm saying now. Because if you feel like very uncomfortable or some severity with your own practice, that means you or the practice itself has too much this force in that kind of relationship between you and your practice. So how can make it ease and then find some kind of middle way, not too loose and not too strong. You can just keep that without consuming too much energy, still clear. That's exactly actually what our true nature is supposed to do. I mean, go that way, it's working. So yeah, it's interesting from our own practice. Those kind of natural law is not very different from that. So I hope you can find some way. Of course, it doesn't mean that okay, because it's very important to find my middle way. I don't really care the group schedule because it's too much. Culture schedule is over my balance or gravity, whatever. So that I'm gonna just keep my own schedule. And you get damaged mentally. So you understand I'm not saying that. It is important to actually try to participate in community schedule. Well, that's why actually you enter this retreat. You could do by yourself at home. So actually the number one important thing is how do I actually fit in this group practice rather than my own schedule. That is the number one practice in Kyoche because we do together. But then what I try to mean is if you try some more extra practice, then just think about what I just talked about. Any question? Yeah.
Yeah, you maybe recommend to start give more attention to like maybe not exactly like thinking about after the retreat. But you said like you are before landing, so like maybe give it more attention.
Give more attention to
the after the retreat.
It was the opposite actually. I mean, because the last part of Kyoche, we start thinking, I mean, generally, a lot of people start thinking about what to do after retreat. That's why it's shaking. So rather than that, better to focus on what you are doing to the last moment of the Kyoche. Well, of course, I think it's unavoidable that this kind of thinking keep appearing in your mind, like about what to do after Kyoche finish, and that becomes even more active when Kyoche is finishing. That's okay because thinking itself has no good or bad. Thinking is a thinking, right? But when you realize that this really distract me from my practice, for my practice, then just use your technique, to come back to this moment. Yeah, so that's what I was trying to say. Was that your question?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So because that's usually happening for many people, so I just wanted to share before we get lost. Any other question? Okay. So anyway, thank you very much for your practice because it's not easy thing. Sometimes I hear from when I sometimes have some chat or tea with one of the retreatants, and then I find like someone else doing some more practice or kind of trying, do some more extra practice. That inspires me because I have to do some temple work, and often, sometimes that make me feel I need more rest rather than going to the sampa. But when I just hear that, oh, this guy, this person, doing even more some extra practice, well, I mean, physically doing more practice doesn't guarantee your enlightenment, but it actually very often inspires someone else. We used to say like during 3 months 결제, if there is only one person is very sincere for this, actually that inspires the whole group for 결제. And I know that's true. So that's why actually when I sometimes just happen to hear this person is really sincerely trying, then that inspires me. So I hope we can support each other in such way. I forgot his name. Actually, he's from Theravadan, I think, traditional master. That if you get this some lazy mind in a community practice, that means actually you don't have compassion. So it's not about actually you just do go practice. It also connect eventually compassion, because your practice inspires the others in community. Well, that's a big part of your own practice too. So I hope we support each other in such way. Thank you.